Let us continue our study regarding the characterization of the tragic comedy The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. The major characters, including Antonio and Shylock, have been studied by us. In the last lecture, we started studying the character of the topmost heroine of William Shakespeare's comedies, Portia. Among all the heroines of William Shakespeare, the character of Portia is on the top because of her temperament, her dialogues, her action, her human approach to life, and a faithful beloved as well as a faithful daughter. All these qualities are rarely found in heroines. In this play, she loves Bassanio by heart, but when the question of marriage arises, she follows the will of her father. She doesn't throw the will of her father on the wind. Instead, she tells Bassanio to select the right casket. Thus, the casket story is such a story of the play which is not only the example of a devoted daughter but also an example of the sacrifice for the sake of pure and true love. But at last, the love wins, and Bassanio selects the right lead casket. The will of her father is also followed by Portia, which suggests the devotion to the memory of her father. The other characters too appreciate the positive outlook of Portia. The next point regarding the character of Portia is her generous disposition. So far as the gender factor is concerned, biologically the women are generous. If we do not say biologically, but between the male gender and the female gender, the women are generous. Portia, accordingly, is a lady of large heart, a generous by heart. She is wealthy, but we have not seen any pride in her regarding her wealth. She is not in a mood to boast of her wealth. Every person, every wealthy person is not generous. Even some wealthy persons are misers, as we have seen the character of Shylock in The Merchant of Venice. But Portia is a combination of material wealth and generous heart. On one hand, we have the materialistic position, on the other hand, there is a treasure wealth of generosity. When she comes to know about the plight of Antonio and when realizes that Antonio has done the dangerous in life by signing on the bond for the sake of her lover, Bassanio. She offers money to Bassanio for the rescue of Antonio from the clutches of Shylock, who is a Jew. When the Jew goes on following the conditions of the bond, the next source has been applied by her that she disguises herself as a lawyer and stands in the court, saves the life of Antonio, who is in the most critical moment of his life. Portia is not only generous but also has by nature very compassionate. She follows very intelligently the ethnicity also. Really, beauty and intelligent. Beauty and intelligence go hand in hand regarding the character of Portia. Her famous quality of mercy, then the speech which is given by her regarding mercy, centering on mercy, is a sublime quality which we have found in the character of Portia. It blessed him that gives and him that takes. According to her, mercy is an attribute to God Himself. She allows the Christian community and the people who are present in the court for the trial scene to follow their own religious Christian ways of mercy with Shylock also. And when she finds that Shylock needs the lessons of reformation, she makes him available the source, a way to convert himself as a Christian. Just it is the outcome of her compassionate nature. It was the demand of the time that Shylock, on one hand, when he is found with a knife in the court and becomes ready to cut a pound of flesh from the heart of Antonio. That scene has crossed the boundaries of cruelty, and any criminal has been given an opportunity of reformation. And in those days, a Jew, Sherlock, was converted as a Christian to become a man of compassionate by nature. Now, this sort of punishment, this sort of judgment in the Elizabethan period was not considered inhuman. Nowadays, religious conversion all over the world is thought as the most inhuman act because the whole world is following, enjoying freedom and liberty. So each and everyone has the fundamental right to live life according to his religion. But in the case of Sherlock, we haven't seen in William Shakespeare's play The Merchant of Venice. Portia is essentially a wiser. We have also studied and witnessed the wisdom of Portia in the play. Portia shows her wisdom in other ways as well, with her valuable remarks in the play. She says that it is a good divine who follows his own instructions. And she looks so confident that she finds it easier to teach 20 that were good to be one of the 20 to follow her own teaching. Thus, the character of Portia in The Merchant of Venice is a way to the reformative approach to life. Good deeds positive actions according to her shine in a naughty world like a candle shines in the darkness. The good qualities, good action, positive deed, positive actions offer lights to the people who are lost in this world. And that is the reason why she follows the way of religious conversion so far as Shylock is concerned. The character of Shylock appears dark metaphorically and needs reformation. It also leads to the ethnicity of Portia, but that was the way at that moment which was accepted by the Elizabethans. According to her, nothing is good if it is not seen in its proper context. Each and every action should be seen through the proper context. And the context which brought both Shylock and Antonio in the court was that Antonio had, or the people like Antonio in those days had a desire to return the money of the professional lenders like Shylock. But unfortunately, the context was that his ships lost way on the sea. And thus in the play, Antonio fails to return the money of Shylock. On the part of Shylock, the proper context is that he must accept the money when there is ample background, ample source that being a professional money lender, his basic purpose is to receive the money. The bond gives him a right to cut a pound of flesh from the body of Antonio, but the bond contextually also allows him to accept more money, double the amount. If money has been accepted by Shylock, it would have been better. But the purpose of Shylock at the moment was different. The aim was different. He desires to take revenge against Antonio. And there are ample reasons. He has explained these reasons that why he wants to cut a pound of flesh from the body of Antonio, because he does not charge more interest to whom he gives money. Moreover, he helps them financially, and thus the rate of interest has come down in Venice. Thus, each and every situation, according to Portia, if it is not seen in its proper context, then man may take wrong decision. And if we follow to look at situation, in the light of proper context, in the right perspective, then such people are regarded as worthy people in the society. Thus, Portia appears in the play as a mature lady. Her wisdom appears in most striking manner in the trial scene in the court. In the scene, first she gives opportunities to Shylock, but when Shylock goes on following the terms and conditions of the bond with the help of her intellect, with the help of her argument, she is able to turn the tables upon Shylock and defeats Shylock with the same weapon with which he wanted to take the life of Antonio. The law of Venice has been followed by her. She allows Shylock to cut a pound of flesh from the body of Antonio, but while cutting, Shylock is not allowed to shed a single drop of blood. because the man who is responsible for a drop of blood of a Venetian is subject to punishment. Punishment will be given to him. Thus, Shylock himself has created himself creates critical situation. Besides her wisdom, besides her generous disposition, besides her compassionate nature and her devotion to the memory of her father, Portia appears very modest. Her modesty, humility, and feminine gender have been explained very minutely in the play The Merchant of Venice. On one hand, we have studied the character of Portia as a powerful lady, but she remains a woman at heart with a lot of modesty, humility, and compassion. She disguises herself as a man and plays a masculine role very successfully. But on all other occasions, she shows that modesty lends to woman the grace and charm which make her a lovable person too. Now, when Bassanio puts his hand on the lead casket, she feels overwhelmed by the feeling of ecstasy, the feeling of joy, the feeling of delight. And is hardly able to restrain her feelings on this occasion. After all, she is a woman by heart and a beloved of Bassanio. When Bassanio opens the lead casket, and finds the portrait of Portia, in the casket. He claims her with a kiss. Earlier, the Prince of Morocco and the Prince of Aragon have failed to select the right casket. Even Portia does not give any clue to Bassanio regarding the selection of the casket, and the speech she makes at the moment embodies the very spirit of humility. She describes herself as unschooled, unlessoned, and unpracticed woman. These words are not the proper antonyms. Unlessoned means here illiterate. Unschooled here means illiterate. But still, so far as her own confession is concerned, she describes herself unschooled, unlessoned, and unpracticed woman, and then goes on to make a complete surrender of herself to a man who has owned her as his wife. Now, after the selection of the right casket by Bassanio, she, for the moment, agrees the selection and doesn't hesitate, being a wealthy woman, being the rational woman, being the intelligent woman, a wiser, a famous lawyer, the follower of the Christian ways, and a woman compassionate by nature, all have been put aside by her and surrenders herself to live a life of a wife with Bassanio. Thus, up to this, we have studied the qualities of Portia, like one of The heroines created by William Shakespeare, but rules the top with her virtues, with her modesty, with her beauty, with her social status, with her generous nature, with her compassionate nature, with her following of human approach, with her religious belief, with her ethics, with her teaching of moral lessons, her ability to save the life of Antonio by following the law, as well as her ability to show right path, right way to the cruel man, a revengeful man like Sherlock. On the other hand, her personal dilemma is that the condition laid down by her father regarding her marriage. On one hand, there is a lover, and on the other hand, devotion to father. The will of her father and her decision to marry according to the will of her father, though she loves Bassanio, is an example of sacrifice, faith, respect, honor, all together. She proves herself intellectual as well as the woman who is able to live as a wife with Bassanio. She is rich, wealthy, but the wealth does not lead her to wrong path. On the other hand, we have found her teaching morality to the whole society, and the trial scene is an example of her reason, her intellect, as well as a woman who helps the generous man like Antonio in the play. The remaining qualities of Portia's character will be studied in the next lecture.